Hello everybody, I'm Paul Neeson, and a lot of you know me out there. I'm the guy that's against the raw chocolate or the raw cacao. Now before anyone gets upset at me, I just want to let you know I love the taste of chocolate. However, I'm wise enough to know if something's not good for me, no matter how good it tastes, we shouldn't be ingesting it in our body. Now a lot of people will say, well, that's just your experience, Paul, and it's really good. Well, it's not really just my experience. There are a lot of people in the raw food movement that agree that it's not healthy. Now, some of you will say, Paul Neeson doesn't have any science to back this up. He's not a scientist. Well, I'm not a scientist, but the people that I consult with that confirm raw chocolate, also known as cacao, which I like to call crack-cow, is not healthy, are scientists. We have Dr. Clements, Dr. Fred Bishi, Dr. Clements, Dr. Rick Dina, even Gabriel Cousins, who's a doctor, all confirm raw chocolate is toxic for our health and it shouldn't be ingested. Now, there are a lot of people that like to make excuses to keep eating this, and a lot of enthusiastic people telling people to keep taking it. As a matter of fact, I just had a lady call me up who told me that she knows raw chocolate is good and she's writing a book about it. Well, she didn't know that all these people I'm recommending talk against it and recommend it not being ingested because it's really not healthy. Now, I hate to be the bearer of all this bad news, but there is good news. Carob is a much better substitute than chocolate. I personally recommend people never take chocolate because it is addictive. And if you don't think it's addictive, try to give it up. I know many people that say, I'm not addicted to it, but then they justify why they don't have to give it up because they really can't. However, even if you're one of those people that believe it's good for you and you feel you can give it up, if you really want to be wise about this, avoid it altogether. But if you really want the flavor of chocolate, use the chocolate the way you would use vanilla. You would use it as a flavoring, just taking a couple of drops in what you're consuming. You wouldn't take it in the massive quantities that people are recommending you take it. It's really not healthy. And anyone out there that says caffeine and theobromine, which is a drug, is healthy for the body, they're really not looking at this from a scientific standpoint. And you know, all they're really doing is they're really making a big business out of your health. And the reason I got into the raw food diet was not to give everyone bad news. It was to promote what's healthy and to teach people what's not healthy. Now, everyone agreed with me when I told them the majority of medical doctors out there have no idea what they're doing. And everyone was all up in arms saying, oh, that's wonderful, Paul, what you're saying and everything else, because it's true. But when I tell people raw chocolate's no good, many people believe me because they too experiencing the bad results themselves. But many other people tell me, Paul, you can't be right, or Paul Neeson is wrong, and so on. Please remember something. This isn't about Paul Neeson against raw chocolate or Paul Neeson against anybody else. This is about what's healthy or what isn't healthy. We've had recently here in West Palm Beach, Florida, at Hippocrates Health Institute, what we call a Raw Summit. It was the third Raw Summit we've had in the last 4 years. And we've invited all the leaders from the raw food movement to come and join this. And of the people that came, we've had over 500 years experience combined in teaching the raw food message, with many of the people that were teaching it scientists in the raw food movement, or raw food doctors, so to say, healthy doctors, good doctors. This is not like the medical doctors, which aren't really good. These are doctors that have the science to back up the results that we're seeing. First of all, the results are that people are experiencing more and more problems on the raw chocolate, but the science that backs it up says it's not healthy. Now, I'm going to mention a couple of people here and their website. I'm going to put it at the bottom of the screen as I'm mentioning them. The first one is Dr. Clements from Ecopolitan. He's also known as Dr. T. And on Dr. T's website, you can go to his videos. It says Dr. T in 3 minutes. And look under raw cacao, and you can see the scientific evidence he has to show raw chocolate is not healthy for our body. He also, by the way, has other excellent information about vitamin B12 and vitamin D, which is people are very deficient in today, not only in a raw food diet, but everyone. He has great information at that. The reason I mention that is because at the Raw Summit, we've also found that to be true. But at the Raw Summit, we have 500 years of experience of people leading in the raw food movement, teaching the raw food message, agreeing that not only is raw chocolate not healthy, but it should never be ingested. It's highly discouraged, is exactly how we put it in a statement. Raw chocolate is highly discouraged. Another person is Dr. Clements, who's been in charge now of Hippocrates Health Institute for over 35 years. And Hippocrates Health Institute has been in existence in over 50 years. And they have more raw science to back up all the claims than anyone else out there in the raw movement. And they've come up with the same conclusion that raw chocolate is unhealthy. If you go to youtube.com and you type Alive Raw with no space, just Alive Raw, and then you look at Brian Clements' videos on youtube.com on his Alive Raw site, you'll see raw cacao, and you'll see more information from a scientific standpoint by Brian why raw chocolate is no good. Personally, my friend Dr. Fred Bishi, who has a website, Fred Bishi, and then the number 4 health.com. He doesn't have an article yet on his website about raw chocolate, but he's confirmed with me many times it's a terrible substance, it's toxic, and we should not ingest it. Actually, he tested it out himself and he got very sick trying to test it out, and he has a very sensitive body to what's not healthy. Then we have Dr. Rick Dina, who's another good friend, and he teaches raw science at the Living Culinary Institute in Fort Bragg. And Dr. Rick Dina and his wife Karen as well are doctors, and they also confirm from a scientific standpoint that raw chocolate is not healthy. So we have all these people that actually have science to back up the results that me and other people are proving that it's not good. On the other spectrum of the thing, we have a lot of people claiming that raw chocolate is great, it makes them feel wonderful. Well, any stimulant is going to make you feel wonderful. You could take cocaine and feel wonderful for a little while, but eventually there's a downside to it. And you're going to suffer the downside. Again, I'm not here to bring you the bad news. I'm here to bring you the healthy news, and it's just not healthy. Another thing you might be surprised to learn is Dr. Gabriel Cousin also says raw chocolate is highly discouraged. That's the final statement we've come up with on the Raw Food Summit statement, and we have a raw food blog out now called Living Food Summit. .blogspot.com, and on there, and also on my blog site, and also paulneeson.blogspot.com, you can also see the summit, which says raw chocolate, also known as cacao, is highly discouraged. Highly discouraged. It doesn't mean it's okay. It doesn't mean it's okay for some people. It means it's highly discouraged. So, you really need to wake up. If you're eating a raw food diet to be healthy, raw chocolate is something you should avoid. So I want to encourage everyone there to stop taking raw chocolate because it's not healthy. And there are people that are claiming it's healthy. It is not. I repeat, it is not. Raw chocolate is not in the same category and shouldn't be anywhere near the same category as superfoods. Superfoods is something completely different that I will talk about in a different video here. But raw chocolate is a toxic food. So I recommend this information. I've given you the websites. I've given you some of the resources. You can also go to my website, paulneeson.com, and look at the articles and look at an article I wrote about it. There's more information coming out of it. And you might see this video and you might make one of your funny comments that you're going to keep eating the chocolate and I don't know what I'm talking about. Hey, I've asked many people to prove to me that raw chocolate is okay. Not by how you feel, but from a scientific standpoint. And the only thing people are quoting is either the medical community that's telling me it's okay to drink coffee, or it's okay to take aspirins, or it's okay to drink wine. None of those things are okay. Just because something has antioxidants doesn't make it okay. You have to weigh it out with the negative aspects of it. And yes, raw chocolate has antioxidants, but it also has theobromine and caffeine, which is very toxic, and there are many other things that aren't good with it as well. So we want to look at what works and what doesn't work, and if you want to be successful on eating a raw food diet and at being healthy, like all these other people I've mentioned, I recommend you stop listening to people promoting raw chocolate as a superfood, and you start listening to people that really have the science to back up the claims, and you really look at people that have the result and can show what's going on. Your first couple of years on a raw food diet, you'll be able to get away with a lot of things, but eventually it will catch up to you. So I recommend you check that out, and I recommend you have a great raw life, and we'll see you soon.